What is up, Light Fam? It is David, your spiritual awakening coach, here to help you through your spiritual awakening. What is the narcissist's worst nightmare? Let's dive deep so that you've got the tools that you need to break free and find your sovereignty. Want to know the malignant narcissist's worst nightmare? It's that you won't buy the grandiose image that they have of themselves that they're trying to sell to you. The malignant narcissist's image is completely dependent upon the external. And not just that, guys. But their worst nightmare is also that you will discover your worth, because when you discover your worth, you will no longer seek or need their approval, because when you discover your worth, you will approve yourself. Now, this is very problematic for the narcissist because seeking their approval is the carrot on the stick that they use to bait you into performing an act of service to them that you wouldn't have regularly performed unless they guilted you into performing it. So seeking their approval is that tool that they use to control your emotions and your actions. Seeking their approval is also a weapon that they use to instill self-doubt within you, to chip away at your self-confidence. So if you're constantly seeking their approval and they never give you that approval, well, oh my goodness, well, something must be wrong with you, right? Something must be wrong with your decision-making skills, right? Oh, that must be what it is. Well, that type of thinking instills the self-doubt within you that they need to keep you on their string and puppeteer you, which is their objective in the first place. So how do you stop seeking approval from the narcissist? Heal the trauma that seeks approval from the narcissist. One of the best ways to do this is shadow work. Shadow work allows you to go into the shadow, into the subconscious. Once you are aware of something, it's no longer in the subconscious. It's now in the conscious because you're conscious of it. So you want to go back in childhood and take a look at where your seeking approval from a narcissist may have began. Maybe you had a narcissistic parent or parents. Did they make you feel loved? Did they make you feel worthy? Did they make you feel heard? Did they give you approval and validation? If they didn't, then that may have caused some trauma that causes you to seek validation from the narcissistic archetype in your adult relationships. So if you have a history of constantly attracting narcissists in your romantic relationships, for example, then there's only one common denominator in that equation, and that's you. Okay, so you've got some unhealed trauma that is attracting in narcissists. You've got unhealed trauma that seeks approval and validation from the narcissistic archetype. And as I've said in previous videos, seeking approval from a narcissist is that blood in the water, and all the narcissists come out of nowhere because you seeking their approval is their food. It's like ringing a dinner bell. Or maybe in your career, do you have a narcissistic boss? This boss just makes your life a living hell. This boss never approves your work or validates your existence in the company or whatever it is. Do you think that that is a coincidence? There are no coincidences in an absolute intelligent universe. The universe is going to continue to put in your face the frequency that you are not willing to change until you are willing to change it. That's just how a universe of energy, frequency, and vibration works. If you're finding value with the content, please click the subscribe button. We got a lot of videos on empath empowerment. If you're watching this video, you're probably an empath. We got videos on healing trauma, shadow work, etc. And if you know someone that needs to break free from a narcissist, please share this video with them to empower them. So set some quiet time aside, be still, and go back in childhood and see, were there some traumatic events where you didn't feel valued, worthy, seen, or heard? And then try to determine if one of your parent or parents was a malignant narcissist. Did they have NPD, narcissistic personality disorder? And if they did, this is the point that I want you to understand. Understand that if they do have narcissistic personality disorder, they have a mental illness. The opinion of your worth from someone with a mental illness should be completely discredited once you understand this point. Why would you care about what someone thinks of you if you understand that they're not right in the head anyway? So let that kind of sink in. And then you start to reparent yourself. Maybe you've got some daily self-love practices, some daily self-worth practices, and then you get into the habit of generating your own sense of love, your own sense of worth, your self-validating, self-approving, self-loving. And then all of a sudden you find yourself in a spot not seeking or needing the narcissist's approval. This takes the narcissist off of a pedestal so you can clearly see them for what they are. And it also means that you're no longer buying the grandiose image that they're trying to sell to you. Now, this is very problematic for the narcissist because they do not derive their sense of self and worth from within. It's completely dependent upon whether or not you buy that grandiose image. And if you don't buy it, this rips open the trauma that caused them to be a malignant narcissist in the first place, most likely abandonment trauma. They can actually go back as if they're back in childhood and feel those same intense emotions and relive that trauma when you don't buy the image that they're trying to sell to you. They're now in a state of fight or flight. It's a survival mode. And they now view you as a threat to their survival because you're not buying the image that they need to survive. Healing the trauma that seeks validation from the narcissist allows you to see that the narcissist needs you way more than you need them. Remember, the narcissist is a mutated codependent, meaning they need you way more than you need them. But now, of course, they don't want you to know that. Otherwise, they're not able to control you. But when you heal that trauma that seeks validation from them, you very clearly see that the shoe is actually on the other foot, regardless of appearances. And healing the trauma that seeks validation from the narcissist allows you to start the detachment process because you no longer have unhealed trauma that believes it's a threat to your survival to not get the narcissist's approval and validation. When you're seeking the narcissist's approval and validation from a point of unhealed trauma, that unhealed trauma believes it's a threat to survival. You're in fight or flight unless you get that narcissist's approval and validation, which is why they have you running around chasing your tail, because you believe it's a threat to survival. But once you heal that trauma, you can much easier detach and break free because you no longer view it as a threat to your survival if you lose the narcissist out of your life. I hope this helps. I love you guys. Namaste.